city of efficiency, the city of finance, the city where we're told that if we just study hard enough, get that degree, land that job at the big four firm, then we will be happy.
But there's a crack in the glass. We're sitting in air-conditioned lecture halls, learning about sustainable business strategies, while outside, the streets are literally flooding. We're told to plan for our retirement in 2070. But has anyone actually looked at the climate models for 2070?
It's a strange cognitive dissonance. We are living in two worlds. The world of our parents, where the goal was stability, property, and comfort, and the real world, where the climate crisis is rewriting the rules of survival.
We wanted to measure this dissonance, but we just didn't want to guess. So we asked 96 of our peers at the KU, and the results, well, they explain exactly why we feel this way.
Here is the reality. We asked students, how serious is the climate crisis in Hong Kong? The average score was 6.18 out of 10. High, right? We know it's a problem. But when we ask, how much do you care? The average score dropped to 3.97. Think about that gap. We acknowledge the house is on fire, but we don't feel the heat. Why? Because the solutions we are sold are disconnected from reality. Look at the policy awareness data. 83 people knew about the plastic bag levy. Only 28 knew about green finance or producer responsibility schemes. Why is awareness so low? Because most government policies target the business sector, not citizens. Schemes like green finance, carbon trading systems, and producer responsibilities are visible to the public. Meanwhile, the few policies that do target us, like plastic bag levy, feel superficial. Here's the deep problem. Most people don't care enough to hold the government accountable. According to research, approximately 70 to 80% of people believe major policies shouldn't be implemented right now. The government uses this apathy as cover. When public engagement is low, implementing bold climate actions become too difficult, or not the right timing. But here's the contradiction. The same surveys show over 90% of people are willing to participate in waste reduction voluntarily. The problem isn't public unwillingness. It's that the government prioritizes avoiding backlashes over creating real change. They learned from 2019. They're not taking big risks in big policies anymore. Taking the waste charging scheme. It was abandoned because the government feared economic pushback. The second phase of the plastic bag ban, constantly delayed, scaled back, finding the right timing, while the city keeps drowning in plastic.
This creates an impossible situation for young people who actually care. We feel helpless because, firstly, the government won't act boldly due to public apathy. We can't change public opinion fast enough, so we're left watching policies because support get watered down or abandoned. Most students we interviewed don't care. They're numb to it. But the ones who actually care, they're trapped. We want to create change. We want to take action. But the only outlet available to us is paying $1 for a plastic bag. And that's on us to implement ourselves. The business sector isn't going to do it voluntarily.
Look at Hong Kong's Climate Action Plan 2050. On paper, it's ambitious. Carbon neutrality, net zero electricity, electric vehicles by 2035, and zero landfill dependency. But here's what the plan actually tells us. On paper, reduce emissions by 50% before 2035. In reality, we're at 34.5 tons in 2023, barely moving. The targets exist for international credibility and not domestic action. The government's climate action plan mentions public participation, including youth, in advisory committees. But when it comes to actual implementation, most policies either target profitable business sectors or place burdens on individuals, like waste charging, which the government then abandons. They prioritize electricity decarbonization, which affects energy companies and not us directly. Building efficiency regulations, which affect developers and property owners. And green finance and carbon trading, which affects corporations. About citizens, education and engagement only. That's it. Policies are designed to change our behavior without changing the system.
It's not climate change alone that makes us miserable. It's watching the government downplay it, delay action, and tell us to be resilient while doing the bare minimum. That betrayal is what turns awareness into anxiety and lowers our happiness more than any single typhoon ever could. And this gap doesn't only create apathy, it creates anxiety. When you know the crisis is serious, but feel like you can't change anything, either because the government slows everything down, or because the public doesn't care, you start to shut down inside.
This disengagement isn't just apathy, it's protection. Psychologists call it eco-anxiety, and in Hong Kong, it takes on a special form, a quiet, cynical burnout. A study by Xi'an University found that our generation now faces the city's highest depression rate, over 22%.
And this is where education fails us, even here at HKU. The university says, be resilient, practice gratitude. But telling students to stay positive while their future burns isn't education. It's toxic positivity. It's gaslighting.
We're being trained for a 20th century dream, a world of hedonic happiness, of comfort, of stability, and of control. But if your happiness depends on stability, and stability only, then you are doomed. The 21st century is built on instability. The climate crisis has already torn apart the old foundations, and the future will only grow more uncertain.
Our survey revealed a fracture within our generation. The first group, the ones who care, see climate change as an existential risk, not a mere trade-off with development. They reject the logic of endless growth. They call for systemic change, personal accountability, and collective action.
But caring always comes with a cost. When you believe climate change threatens you directly, you feel moral injury, the pain of living inside a system that violates your own values. You don't want to harm the planet, but every choice makes you complicit. You ask yourself, is it wrong to find joy while the world burns? Are we entitled to live carefree while others suffer?
And for this group, happiness begins to change shape. It's no longer about individual success. It's about interdependence, finding meaning through the community, not above it.
But Hong Kong complicates this. We live in a capitalized city infused with Western ideals. Here, even collectivism is framed through individual. Self-sufficiency, personal worth, autonomy.
And that's the trap. The government says it cares. Corporations say they care. But the results prove otherwise. Because both are still chasing profit instead of collective well-being. That's individualism disguised as progress.
The second group, the ones who don't care, find happiness through personal growth, career, status, those high arousal emotions of achievement and recognition. But can that version of happiness survive in this unstable world?
The data says no. In 2021, 84% of Hong Kongers believe climate change would hit future generations harder. Yet, only 60% saw it as more urgent than the economy now. We know the storm is coming, yet we refuse to change its course.
So here's the real critique of HKU, of the system, and our entire generation. If education only trains us to adapt to a broken system, to find private happiness while the collective ship sinks, then we're not learning how to survive in the future. We're learning how to tolerate collapse.
So if the old version of happiness is dead, what's left? There needs to be a change. There needs to be a change in how we define the word happiness. There has to be a shift from the old hedonic happiness, which is simply feeling better, to the new eudaimonic happiness, functioning well.
It means finding purpose in the fight, not just the result. We need to stop waiting for the government to save us. The Action Plan 2050 is too slow. The plastic ban is too small.
There's a concept called active hope. Passive hope is waiting for the world to get better. But active hope is the practice of making it better. It's not about optimism, it's about participation.
If we keep measuring success by career stability or the size of our house, we are destined to live less happy lives. Because the climate crisis makes those metrics fragile. But if we redefine happiness, not as individual achievement, but as collective well-being, joy found in contribution to the community and integrity of action,
we become resilient even in instability.
But is it really possible to change from being independent to interdependent? To shift the very public definition of happiness itself? The world doesn't get better by becoming more individualistic. Maybe happiness isn't about standing out, but standing together.
Even if change seems impossible, like the dream of degrowth, it's still worth asking. Can we imagine another way? What if we exchanged material abundance for emotional abundance? What if happiness wasn't constant stimulation, but peaceful presence? A shift from high arousal to low arousal, from excitement to contentment.
Yes, our relationship defines the contours of our society. But define your relationships and you change society itself. We should stop waiting for hope to arrive and generate it through participation, whether it's community recycling, local advocacy, or simply educating others. Just like procrastination feeds anxiety, action is the antidote to despair. And participation is the pathway back to happiness.
So, to the students watching this, our friends, our classmates, you are going to bear the full impact of this crisis. That is a fact.
But you don't have to be a victim of it. Reject the fake happiness of stability. Reject the university's advice to just adapt.
Look at the data. Caring hurts, yes. But caring is the only thing that makes us real.
Happiness in 2025 isn't about escaping the fire. It's about grabbing a bucket and standing next to your neighbor. That is the only good life left.